Good morning, good morning, good morning. I said I wasn't going to say that anymore, didn't I? Well, happy Monday. Here we go. Happy Monday. It's a lot of training to kind of like get yourself into another state of mind. So I wanted to talk to you today about self-awareness. So we hear it, we think we know we're supposed to have it, we think we're supposed to know it, but I'm going to give you just a few little tips on self-awareness and what it really is. So it's the art of knowing yourself, knowing what you really want, knowing your personality, and knowing your aspirations. And sometimes life will teach us what you do and you don't want. Like when you realize you're no longer enjoy your major or your job. But other times it takes intentional work to understand yourself better. So, what I will tell you is that when I was finding out about myself and learning myself, there were so many questions I have never asked myself. So, I scoured around and looked for a lot of personality tests. I took some tests that had to do with that. My love language tests. I really did a lot of testing myself, just to understand what I wanted, because I really didn't know what I wanted. And a lot of us, we listen to what others say or how others guide us, but it's guiding us in the way they should go, not in the way we should go. So we kind of get lost in the source about what we're supposed to be doing. And years ago, my mom would always tell me that it was great to be in the medical field. And so I enjoyed of course, most of us enjoy being around people. And that's what we're here for, is to kind of connect with other people, right? We're here to do that and bring out our gifts or purpose. And I loved working in human services. So I didn't like, the hands or the direct care part of it much, but even though I started there, so I started to excel up the ladder, supervisor, and I wanted to be a group manager. Residence manager, blah, blah, all that great stuff. And I really found out what my personal values were, what my feelings were, and what my desires were when I worked in this position. And like I said earlier, life will teach you what your do's and your don'ts are, and what you like and what you don't like. And so I liked working in the human services. What I didn't like is that it didn't line up with my personal values, my feelings, um, because I had to learn to instruct other people how my personal values and my feelings lined up with what we're supposed to be doing with human beings. And I couldn't teach those that have been doing what they were doing in a mechanical way with human beings. I couldn't teach them anything different. And so I had to leave there because it didn't line up with my personal values, my feelings, and my desires. So pinpointing things you love about yourself and your areas that you have to self-improve with is so vital. Um, I knew that knowing how those that I supervised felt about human beings and treated other human beings just for a check made me say that I can't be in this, right? It was toxic. It was very, very toxic. And we try to live around it because, it pays the bills and it does all these, pays the bills and gets the job done, maybe gives us a little bit of clout, and the overtime is great, but it didn't line up. And so I bailed. But I didn't bail until I had a plan. I bailed after talking to a few people, researching things, and I bailed into real estate. And that's where my heart was. That's where I find all my other gifts. I become self-aware of a lot of things about myself, positive or negative, and I would be able to appreciate them more. While your reactions to setbacks, achievements, and other positive and negative life events can teach you about your personality, self awareness exercises push you to understand them further. So you may think you love your current job, but when you journal about it, you find that you like to improve some aspects of your career. You might believe you find conversations with your partner about financial wellness stressful, but discover upon further intro, not outside, but intro, that it's not the subject itself, but how you communicate it, how I communicate it to someone else, right? Self awareness activities prompt you to think deeply about your feelings and become more aware of your thoughts, your reactions, your experiences. Then, with that knowledge in hand, you acknowledge your positive traits and address your bad behaviors. Okay, so now you know the importance of it, um, and and it's so important to be aware of your personality, right? Because that helps you align with your personal goals and your true self. You can identify with values if you seek meaningful activities and relationships that define your strengths and areas of opportunity. It's so easy. Most of the time, again, we are leaning on what someone else has guided us through or someone else's experience, but we're not that same person. I can't tell you how many times I've heard young people, heard older people, who heard my clients all talk about I wasn't meant to be in here. And then when they lived half of their life, they retire and they find what they truly love. But why wait till the end when you can have it in the beginning? Self knowledge. And I think what I'm totally impressed with is my grandchildren, um, my daughter's granddaughter, and my youngest son's um, children. They're teaching them how to be self-aware of themselves, what they want, what they value, and giving them opportunities to grow and strengthen in areas that would never be will be taboo, and they're giving them the option of communicating and learning to communicate, teaching them and interacting with others. They're teaching them those things to be self-aware. Be aware for yourself so that when there is peer pressure, you're aware of your personal values, you're aware of yourself, and you can say, hey, this is not what I want. And then if something stresses you out, you can have clear boundaries around that person, around those things, and prompt stronger communication and honest relationships, which is so valuable when you are self-aware. Yeah. So if you're tired of like all the time, but aren't sure why, you'll discover you're working too much or you're giving too much in one area. And one of the exercises you can do is start to examine the word no. Yeah, it's going to get difficult. It will get difficult when you start to say no to certain things. So you want to be able, give yourself an assignment. Maybe one thing a week, say no. No is a valuable tool when it comes to you being overwhelmed, working too much, doing too much of nothing, and not getting any satisfaction for yourself. So when you come home from the end of the day and you really sit back and you breathe in, you breathe out, and you take that 5 minutes to I guess, debrief from the day. Most of us don't do that, okay? But you have to, these are things about self care that are really important. Debrief for the day and say, what did I take on that I shouldn't have? And what did I take on that enhanced my life? And when you look at it that way, you can literally sit, have a cup of tea, or just debrief. Just sit down and listen to some great music. It only takes 5 minutes. That means go away from your phone. Just debrief. Hey, kids, husband, give me 5 minutes. Boyfriend, girlfriend, give me 5 minutes. I just need this 5 minutes. And that's the art of saying no. You know, one of the first books that I read was The Art of Not Giving a Fuck. And it's a great book. I had saw a commercial about it. I don't know how long ago, and I wanted this book. So one of my friends purchased it for me and gave me it as a gift. So I when I read it, I was blown away about some of the things that we really care about that we don't need to care about. And that started me on the journey of really saying no with a period. So I wrote two books in my journey of becoming aware of myself, awareness, and self knowledge. One was my big ask was every question that I didn't have an answer to. Every question, that question like when you go in a job interview and they ask you, "What could you give to this company?" And the only thing you can say, "Well, I'm a people person," that everybody is. Some may not be aware of it, but everybody is. We come here to interact, right? But we don't have the answers, those deep questions that ask you, what do you really want out of life? What do you really want out of your career? What do you really want in a relationship? Who's your ideal guy? Who's your ideal girl? What do they look like? All those questions. Now that I think about it, it's pretty heavy. But yeah, that was one book, The Big Ask. The second one was because I was a people pleaser most of my life, and I used to call it as a child. I used to I would say that I was a chameleon, and that's what I would call myself, as a chameleon. I could tell when I started naming myself this when I was 12, and I could tell that I was becoming a chameleon to interact with other people to give them what they want, and I didn't know it was being a people pleaser so I could get on what I was doing and go about my business, or get on what I'm doing. And so I became a people pleaser. And usually a chameleon, they freeze. So all these things I kind of learned along the way, right? And so I wrote this guide that helped me. These are all things that I created for myself to help me out of things. And I wrote this guide that's called No, Period. A guide to help you people pleasers get away from that. Get away from being a people pleaser. Yeah, you have to get out of it, and we don't notice it. We don't believe it. We think it's just being helpful. But I want to tell you that saying no with a period instead of a comma gives you a deeper understanding of things, a deeper um, feeling of confidence. It gets your self worth back. It relieves you of stresses and hurts with people. Because if you don't come through because you said no with a comma, and you don't come through and people depend on you, then there won't be any disappointments. There won't be any fights, you know? So I think that's the only one I'm going to talk about today is no. Um, just becoming, self-aware by using the word no, because it's really important. There's a psychologist named Anna Sutton. She analyzed self-awareness outcomes, in a questionnaire, and she found that it had a rate of, based on its performance, it impacted self awareness, with cultures and with lifestyles. And people couldn't measure themselves in any of those areas because they weren't self aware. And that's a pretty scary thing, right? To have, like, doing all these quizzes and exercises. But I find a lot of people that do them, that want to know themselves, don't complete them because then they get really busy about life. And let me just say, all of us have the same 24 hours. No one's ever busier than the other person. No one is. Um, because we don't know that person's life. We don't know what's going on with them. We don't know. So to say that somebody's not busy or lazy or whatever, not quite your business. But I digress. Self awareness will help you become aware of yourself. And I think the first one that we dealt with was saying the word no. Now, how do we work on this? We can use some steps, like I did. Do some quizzes, take the quiz activity and the results, and kind of apply them to yourselves. Start to read more. I read at least 3 or 4 times a week. um, but one thing I did do is journaling. I write down my thoughts, write about my day. I mean, that could be part of your debriefing, is grabbing a pen and paper and just, like, I have these handy dandy little booklets that my friend gave me, and put them everywhere. So when a thought comes, I kind of process that. So processing anxiety, you can write down, you can journal, and it also will give you points of self discovery, because as you debrief after you finish this book, you just go through it. In fact, did I cover that, and put a big done on each one, right? So it'll make a way of you tracking what you're doing, right? And help you to be aware of your triggers, your insecurities, and your abilities. So I hope, by the way, this will be an ongoing motivational Monday, Motivation Monday. We'll go over so many other steps, but right today, we're just going to focus on the word no. And we're going to take that, and we're going to work on that this week. And set your intentions. I know that you set them on Sunday on what you're going to accomplish, but then set your intentions on just saying no to one thing that you can't fit into your schedule, that will make you overwhelmed, and feel good about that. Take your confidence back. This is Edna White. I hope I said something that helped you get where you need to go this week. And see you next time around. Hi, Lizelle. Bye for now.